Today, the Red Sox agreed to a minor league contract with free agent C.J. Cron, the result possibly being Bobby Dalbec's time in Boston coming to an end. The former fourth-round pick in the 2016 MLB draft, Bobby Dalbec might have finally seen the end of his time in Boston. I'm still not too sure. Personally, I'm a huge Dalbec fan. I have his jersey. I actually have his jersey signed by him. That tells you how much I enjoy watching him play. I was a huge fan in 2021 when he went off. And I mean, he had that big second half. Even though his stats were only a .240 batting average, he still had 25 home runs and 78 RBIs. And in a sense, looking back, it kind of makes you wonder, did the Sox miss out on selling him when he was at his highest point? Because in 2022, he struggled quite a bit, especially since he played in 117 games, and he only hit .215 with 118 strikeouts and exactly 100 less plate appearances and 100 less at-bats. He went from 25 home runs to 12 in 2022, and he still struck out 118 times. But then you go to 2023, and that was, I don't know, I would say it's not a very good year when you look at it from his major league stats. He only appeared in 21 games, most of those being at the end of the season when the Sox were already out of contention. However, he had 49 at-bats, and in those 49 at-bats, he struck out 28 times. That's over 50% of his at-bats. He hit .204. He got on base at a .264 percentage. He had one home run. 10 hits in 49 at-bats. Good for .204. Yes, I know batting average isn't the end-all, be-all, but when you look at his more advanced stats, his batting average for balls in play in 2023 and his very short stint was a .450 batting average for balls in play. And they say anyone above 300 is considered very lucky. In 2020, when he came up at the end of the COVID season in that 23-game stretch, he hit .263 and he had 8 home runs, and he kind of excited fans. They thought, oh man, maybe this guy could be a bridge at first base for a few years, and even then be this power hitting guy on the team. His batting average for balls in play at that season was .394. 2021, it was .316, so it started to drop a bit. And you saw in that season, his average dropped from .263 to .240, and his on base dropped from .359 to .298, along with his strikeouts going up. Of course, he also played in 110 more games in 2021 compared to 2020. However, it just shows that his stats really, as much as I love the guy, his stats are showing that he's not a major league player. He's more of a 4A player. And for the Red Sox, who have had him around for a few years, might they have grown tired of him? If we continue to look at his advanced stats, he had in 2021, he had a strikeout percentage of 34.4%. So he was striking out roughly 35% of the time. With it, though, he was hitting home runs roughly 5.5% of his at-bats, which, you know what? I would take that at the time. His hard hit percent was at 48.1, and his exit velocity averaged at 92.4, both of which I would say are pretty good for who he is as a player. However, as we continue to look at his remaining years, 2022, we saw not only did his batting average for balls in play drop down to .293, but his strikeout percentage, it actually dropped 1% to 33.4, and his walk percentage went up to 8.2, but his home run percent dropped to 3.4. It kind of fell off. I mean, we saw that year he hit less than half of what he had the year before. His exit velocity dropped, his hard hitting percent dropped, his line drive percent dropped, and it ended up being that his ground balls, it went up to 38.9 compared to 37 in his 2021 season. He actually, in 22, I will give him this. The percentage of his balls put into play that were hit to the center of the field was at 57.1%. So it wasn't like he was pulling it or going the other way too much. Though I would argue that maybe he was just not doing as well. But then we continue into 2023, and like I said, very small percentage. His batting average for balls in play up to 450. His home run percent was down to 2%. His strikeout was almost at 53%, and his walks were at 7.6. His exit velocity went back up to 92.2, and his hard hit percent jumped up to 57.1. Line drives were up to 38%, and his ground balls were at 38%, while his fly balls dropped to just under 24%. Likewise, his percentages for where he went on the field, they shifted a little bit more. His pole went up to 28.6, and his center actually fell to 33.3, while his opposite field percent went to 38.1. Now, Bobby Dalbec, defensively, we know not the best first baseman defensively. He came up as a third baseman and got moved to first because of a need to fill, especially at the end of the COVID season and into 2021 and 2022. He is more comfortable at third, I would say, but who knows? He spent a lot of time at first, and last year in Worcester, which is where he got his name, the King of Worcester, because he hit 33 home runs and hit 269, 381 on base percentage. He made people wonder, could he have been like this in the majors? Though his strikeout percentage was still high, 169 strikeouts and 413 at-bats. But my point being, he played a lot of the outfield in Worcester. He played third. He played some short. He has defensive versatility compared to someone like CJ Cron, who was just brought in today on a minor league deal. He's a 34-year-old first baseman. He's coming off of an injured season. He only played 71 games between Colorado and Los Angeles. So with it, though, his entire season in 71 games, he batted .248 with 12 home runs and 37 RBIs. On base at .295, but he only struck out 65 times. That is something that may end up helping his case compared to Dalbec. While Cron himself, he's going to be limited to first base and DHing with the Red Sox, two positions that are already covered by Tristan Casas and Masataka Yoshida. Not to mention, DH will probably have some rotations going through. I'd expect Tyler O'Neill to get some reps there. Tristan would probably get some when he needs a day off from the field. Expect Devers probably every now and then. So maybe Dalbec's versatility helps him out in this case. But if we now compare Cron's advanced batting percentages, we look at his batting average for balls in play. Last year, it was at a combined 284. It's under 3. And according to what people say, anyone that's under a 300, they're getting unlucky on balls hit in play. 22, he had a batting average for balls in play at 307, and in 21, it was at 316. Now, on top of that, 2021, his home run percentage was at 5.1. He only struck out at 21.4%, and he walked at 11%. He gets on base, and that's what you need. In 2022, he had a 4.6 home run percent, 26% strikeout, and a 6.8 walking percentage. And then in 2023, it was a 4.3%, 23.4 strikeout percent, and a 6.1 walking percent. Across all those years, though, he did not get an exit velocity above 88.8, that being in 2021, and his velocity has actually dropped each of the following years down to 87.7 last year. Though his hard hit percentage stays about the same, 42% in 2021, 42.4% in 2022, and last year it was at 40%, though that was due to a drop-off after the trade to Los Angeles, where he ended up being hurt for most of that time. Though I will say, he hits the ball on the ground a lot. Last year he had a 43.1% ground ball percentage, and he hits it back up the middle. So there's that, he puts it in play. He does not strike out as much. That helps his cases quite a lot. Now, do I think this could be the end for Bobby Dalbec in Boston? Part of me wants to say yes. I do not want to believe it. I do not want to say that the Bobby Dalbec experience is over. I mean, there are people who love this guy. I love him. He's a great guy. great player, but I don't think Boston is what's going to work out for him for his career in the long run, especially after last year where it was shown that he doesn't really have a spot on the roster. I don't think he has much trade value at this point, because even last year when he was tearing up AAA, they could not get anything for him. I believe, honestly, and I hate to say it, but it might be time for them to move on from Dalbec, not just for themselves as a team, but to give him a chance somewhere else. I believe he needs a location somewhere where there won't be as much pressure for him to perform, and that he can be the player he can, hit the ball hard, get on base, and strike out a lot. Honestly, I wouldn't lie, maybe a place like Pittsburgh or Oakland would work perfectly for him in that sense, where they wouldn't be much pressured. He just can go out and play. Meanwhile, CJ Cron, I think at this point in his career, coming in, being a right-handed power bat off the bench is perfect for him. He won't be expected to play every day, and it wouldn't be necessary for him to play every day. All he would have to do is occasionally get a start, either at DH or first, give either Yoshida or Casas a day off, and be able to give some offensive power in the lineup. I mean, 2021, he had 28 home runs. 2022, he had 29 home runs. And last year, he had 12 home runs. But, as I said, he was injured. I think the big thing with CJ Cron is, can he bounce back from that injury from last year? I do not believe it's going to hold him back. I think he will be fine. In my opinion, he's healthy. I don't think that's going to be anything against him. Because, I'm not going to lie, he had, a back injury that kept him in only 56 games in 2023 with the Rockies. But I think he's recovered from it at least this point. I mean, like I said, I'm not holding that back injury against him. And I think he's going to use this last time in spring training. They've got just about a month remaining before games begin to showcase why he deserves that last roster spot. I genuinely believe that these last two spots are going to come down to a fight between Rob Refsnyder, Bobby Dalbec, and CJ Cron. I think Refsnyder is probably the one out of the three of them to hold the highest chance of making one of those two spots, and I think the final spot's going to come down between Dalbec and Cron. Unless, of course, they think Dalbec can provide good enough defense in left and right field to make Refsnyder expandable. Or, who knows? I mean, if you watched Dalbec in AAA last year in Worcester, he played the outfield very well. So I don't think it would be too hard to see him being able to cover at least left field at Fenway, because they had him in right where the Worcester wall was. It's very similar to the Green Monster. Though the question is, can Dalbec's bat keep him in the majors long enough this season? Because I won't lie, I think even if he makes the team out of spring training, he's literally the 26th man on this roster, and I do not think he will get much playing time. I think it will hurt him and any chance at development if he remains in Boston. So for that, unfortunately, I think this might be a sign that the Bobby Dalbec experience is ending. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is the first time I've done a video like this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, if possible, could you leave a like and subscribe? I'd like to start growing this channel a little bit. It originally actually started as a way for me to upload a podcast, which I kind of never got into much with just because of time constraints. So I'm hoping maybe I can do this more on the side, make some videos and talk about the Red Sox, which is something I love quite a bit. If you guys don't know me, I'm over on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now as @NickJJ95. There's a lot of videos I had put up over there of spring training when I went down this past week. Or I'm sorry, not this past week, but the week that ended on the 25th. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching. Have a nice night. And yeah, maybe I'll make another one sometime soon. Okay, bye.